we can just start right there. Like all, white women across America that don't have anything to be mad about, like a social movement, I'm gonna have a summer project. So, and for the people that just tuned in, you are not going to get to hear what Mike and I were talking about before that. So you're just left on a cliffhanger. What's up, Mike? Welcome back. Another episode, C-Suite Unfiltered.
Knock it out, dude. It's 9 o'clock here. It's 6 o'clock your time.
I know.
So
I
you're
appreciate you
wrapping up
doing
the
this
day.
late. Yeah,
Oh,
for
that's all right.
everybody, Mike taking time out of his busy schedule, like and subscribe, maybe share because it's late for him and he takes time to do the pod for us. So, yeah, man, how are things going? I want to jump in, obviously, on a little bit of behind the scenes North Carolina. Things have changed up. Seems like we're starting to get some momentum. So, how are we feeling last week? The episode we were a little bit. We went a little bit sad, talking about time management and priorities and how hard it is to be a business owner. But I feel like now we got some momentum. So how are we feeling?
Good, good. It's obviously the media side. We have to kind of emphasize the highs and the lows because otherwise it'd be very, very boring. We're actually running that now because now we kind of have that we have found our stride. It's like, okay, we have 2 weeks left, and really the game is get more estimates, sell more jobs, and hire one person. Like that's all I need to do for the
Yeah,
next
yeah.
2 weeks. But we somehow need to make it interesting every single day. So, yeah, if anyone's actually watching the daily videos, thank you. But just note, especially next 2 weeks, the drama will like any bit of like story will have to be emphasized. We won't be
Totally.
drama, like we don't create things. However, we will have to take what's there and really embellish it, like make stories, because otherwise, literally the next 2 weeks is keep doing door hangers, getting more jobs on the schedule, get enough budget hours on the schedule to hire a second person. That's like
Mhm.
it. So
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that was interesting that I was talking about with Liz was like we can tell in the comment section who's brand new to the channel and who's been around a while. Because there are
yeah,
people like calling you out, like, you're contradicting yourself. Like, we're in the digital age. Like, why are you saying door hangers are the best form of marketing? It's like, bro, go back and look at like any other video you've done over the last few years. It's like you talk about Google, Facebook, Nextdoor, like all different types of marketing. And they're like, well, you're probably a new subscriber. So hopefully you stick around a while and see what we're actually about here. So
yeah, yeah. Like if you're in spring rush, I'd say probably spend more of your. We would be spending a lot on digital, but I pulled my Facebook ad down today too. Like I just I wasn't spending a lot on it, but I was like, there's no reason to do that when I know it's working, and we have a good strategy, and we're finally getting some traction on it. So, like I say in almost every single time when marketing comes up, I say test as much as you
mhm.
possibly can, and then go all in on what's working.
Yeah.
And we've had to do that in 2 weeks, which typically is not enough of a sample set, honestly.
Hmm.
Usually, I like to see a month or two, but we have to just kind of do it in a more hyper speed approach. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. I had a thought there and then I just lost it. Oh, yeah, it's interesting when you think about like marketing and then having an established customer base because this is kind of funny story I was going to tell you. So your original location, the Bellingham location, I've been helping out with some estimates, and there was a gentleman who we've done. He represents an HOA. We do a property cleanup for him every once in a while. It was recurring for a while, and now it's just like when needed. And he reached out, and I was like, well. We haven't done any marketing for 3 weeks. We're booked out 4 weeks. No paid marketing for 3 weeks. We're booked out 4 weeks. Well, I'm not going to get him on the schedule for at least 5 weeks. So let's just see if he bites. So I increased the exact same property cleanup we did last year. I increased it by $900. I increased it from $2,600 to $3,500. He accepted within 5 minutes. It was awesome. Like
yeah.
that's how like that building that recurring base, building a trusted, respected brand. Like I was like, dude, we're booked out 5 weeks. Like I'm not giving him this project for the same price he got it for last year. Like prices have gone up, inflation, our hourly rates gone up. So I increased it by $900, and he literally sent it, and then I got the notification it was accepted like 5 minutes later, and I was like, let's go, dude.
That's great. Love
Yeah.
it.
So, in terms of the marathon, half marathon, whose idea was that? Was that your idea? Was that Zach's idea? Was that just
Honestly,
spur
dude,
of the
at this
moment?
point, at this point, it's like we got to make stuff up. So, like for example, we got to make a video on Saturdays and Sundays when no work is getting done, right? So we
Yeah.
already kind of burned through some of our creative ideas, like holding this sign, on the first weekend. But there's only so many things you can do. So, some of it's obviously for the media side, right? But I'm also
Right.
making a point in that is like you do whatever it takes to get jobs. I don't care
Yeah.
if that's holding a sign, doing door hangers, running a marathon.
Yeah.
If you got to crawl your way to do it. If there's a will, there's a way. And
Yeah.
so I kind of, in one regard, am happy I'm not doing a spring rush. I really think if I was doing this as a spring rush, this would be like in the bag.
Oh
But
yeah.
it's so hard now because no one needs the services as much. Or the only customers I'm getting are the ones that are switching from other services. I'm not
Hmm.
getting the person that is like moved in the past 4 or 5 months during winter and is looking for a new service. I'm not
Hmm.
getting those, or their guy doesn't show up in the spring and they need a new service provider. So I don't get any of those, right? Um, but I am somewhat happy with the fact that like the way we're doing it is like I'm not doing a bunch of Facebook ads. I'm not doing a bunch of
Hmm.
Google stuff. Like literally 95% of leads, I think we have like 35 or 40 now, have
Hmm.
come from door hangers and my sign.
Hmm.
So like if you can get door hangers and a sign, you should be able to start a business. Like I like that. I
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
that and we didn't intend on that. We don't really have like a plan for the whole trip. Like we don't know what's going to happen. So
Hmm.
like we kind of have thought through like what happens if I don't make it, what happens if I do make it, but like it's not really like a daily we know what's happening. So it's like tonight at dinner we're like figuring out what's tomorrow's story going to be, right?
Hmm.
Um but in the grand scheme of things, I think it's a good there's just a good I like the fact that I'll be able to say like, look, I didn't spend a bunch on ads. Here's what I
Hmm.
did. And people will be like, well, you hired Jonathan to do door hangers. I'm like, yeah, if I wasn't doing everything else, I would be doing the door hangers.
Right.
And so that's why like Sunday I kind of wanted to do the run is because like, look,
Hmm.
I was able to do 400 in a day. He usually gets about 200 to 300 done in a day. So like, if I was not doing all this other stuff, that's what I would be doing. Like 6 hours a day of door hangers.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense. I think I like the fact that you're just proving like you can keep it simple. And then obviously if you have the back end systems like a good CRM, copilotcrm.com, right? If you have the command center, you can scale up quickly if you're just dedicated to whatever works. Test the market and then dedicate all your energy to what's working, right? And in this case, you're gonna pay out the wazoo to get any digital leads. So you might as well just stick to door knocking and pounding pavement, as we say. So I think it's just cool to see you do it. Did you actually run 13 miles?
Yeah, 13.8.
Let's go. 13.8? Is that
Yeah.
how?
Well, no, like the whole thing is technically on 13.1, but I did
Yeah,
13.8 because by the time I realized I was past it, I had already like I was away from the house, so I had to come back to
gotcha.
the house. But the last like 5 miles I did without a backpack, so like that
Right.
was a breeze. That was like
Yeah.
plugging your headphones and run. But the first part was brutal.
Here's a thought I have. I think I might have told you this before. People that have like the marathon stickers, right? The 26.2, 13.1. Here's my thing. I've never run a marathon. I've never run a half marathon. So I know I'm punching up here. These people are better than me. However, I would never put a 13.1 sticker on my car. It just
I
says like
agree.
I'm half good.
Half, yeah, I know.
I can
I
do things
was
halfway really well.
I thought this too, and I was like considering. I was like, it's not worth the pain.
Yeah,
The
no.
pain the next 3 days, like going from half marathon to marathon, is huge jump,
Yeah,
huge
yeah.
jump. That goes from like I could just put my shoes on and go run a half marathon to like I would be hurting for at least 3 to 5 days.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So I was not. I'm not that committed, bro. I'm not
Yeah,
that
no,
committed.
no. You're really good at doing things halfway. That's what the 13.1 sticker shows me. That's what that shows
Oh,
me. I judge
God.
you secretly if your car has a 13.1 sticker on it. I just do.
One
I do.
one guy's comment was funny. It was is if you just had a bike, you could have done a triathlon because the
Oh, I
rain,
saw that.
like
Yeah.
run, swim, bike. I was like, that was a good one. That was a good
I
one.
like that. Do you think you'll ever do anything like that? Like ultra running, triathlon,
Honestly, dude,
Ironman?
I would love to, because
Hmm.
I've done like the several of the Tough Mudders and Spartans and stuff like that. I would love to. The problem is long distance anything is not really good for your body. Like this is the thing. People say that, and I say that, and then I look at people that do it. I'm like, man, they literally look like so healthy, and they live old. So
Yeah.
like, I think though that it skews like if you're doing marathons, you're probably also eating healthy, have a pretty well balanced life, like
Yeah,
in terms
yeah.
of emotionally and spiritually. Like so, like I think it skews the information. But when you look statistically at like the kinesiology of the body and the biomechanics, when you're having a marathon and like literally pounding your knees that many times, it's not smart. And so like
Yeah.
I genuinely want to I would rather run a 5K when I'm 95 or 100 than run a marathon now. That's kind of how I always think about it. And even like
Fair.
box jumps, I love box jumps in the gym.
Hmm.
Love them to death. but I know it just demolishes your knees. And
Yeah.
so I just try to stay away from them. So, but like I love them. Like I could
Yeah.
do them all the time, but I try
Yeah.
not to.
Well, I know you've done like Tough Mudders and like Spartans and stuff, but is there anything you would want to do to like push your limits? Because I feel like a lot of people will do things like that. Like now it's the now, C-suite unfiltered. Now it's like the cool thing in the C-suite to climb Everest, right? Like you see that like now Everest literally has lines during peak climbing season because there's all these Sherpas and there's all these tour companies that will just take millionaires' dollars and be like, yeah, we'll just hike you up Everest. And like that's cool. I'm not knocking those guys. It's just the thing to do to push yourself. Is there anything that you would ever want to do like that to like just
I
prove
think
it
you're
to yourself?
similar. No, I think you're similar in this regard. Like if I just made the decision I was going to do it, I would
Yeah.
do it. It's just a
Right.
matter of like it's not even about like the time or anything like that for me. For me, something like that would be like, okay, why am I doing this? Because some people like they really do get a lot of like personal satisfaction from it, and like kudos to
Right.
them. Right? If
Yeah.
you want to climb Mount Everest, go for it. But for me, it'd be like, okay, am I doing this for like so I can say it, like just make it a cool statement?
Yeah.
Am I doing this because like I am going to feel a certain way at the top? Which like some people have said that, right?
Totally.
And I've lived through like those sort of moments like of what it's going to be, and like I'm probably going to feel like it's kind of a letdown at the top, like if something like Everest or running a
Yeah.
marathon or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then secondly, the bigger thing when it comes to like physical is like I know it's taxing on the body. And so
Hmm.
like again, like I want to be able to like just do a 5K when I'm 95.
Yeah.
And if I'm trying to do all these crazy things now, yes, it'd be fun and like yes, I would enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I also feel like when I'm sick, like this is if you talk to people who know me a little bit, like family,
Yeah.
I'm weird in this. Right? Like when I'm sick, I know I can do like regular things like going and working out, and it's extremely difficult. But I get that same kind of like, okay, I've got to push myself, and that is fun
Hmm.
and very addictive. And that's what people like do those crazy things. They have a little bit of that tendency sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you and I are in a similar vein. It's like if I just wanted to put my mind to it and do it, I would just do it. So like
Yeah.
why would I like who am I proving it to myself? Am I doing it for that like some sort of feeling or just to look cool? Like I don't know, like I've never wanted to ever do like long distance running. But that one day, my mentor in college he was a big runner. Like that's what he loved doing. That was his outlet. And so one morning he was like, "Hey, you want to run with me?" I was like, "Sure." So 4 a.m. we wake up, we just bust out 10 miles, and I was like, I like hated every second of it, but it was like cool to like spend it with him. And I guess like now I proved to myself I can do it, but like it didn't make me want to like run a half marathon or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I think I'd like to do like some sort of like mountain climb or something of that nature, or like really like backwoods camping, like where you really have to
Yeah.
like push yourself, like pack in the only thing that you can bring is what you can bring on your back, and then you just go like survive. I kind of like that. I think that'd be cool.
I still think like the reason you're doing that is to tell a story, which again is fine.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
great starter conversation. But I don't know.
yeah,
I would hate that, dude.
yeah,
I would hate that. I would only be doing it to push myself, and it's like that just is no longer enough of a reason.
yeah.
Like I don't know.
Okay, fast forward 10 years, 15 years. Is Augusta going to do corporate retreats?
It's like half marathon and then yeah, dude, climb Mount Everest together. That'd be fun. No, see, but it's
Yeah.
different when you're doing it together. There's a certain level of like there's ties being built between people and like camaraderie and
Right.
teamwork. Like there's valid arguments for that. But when you're just doing it for yourself to push yourself, it's like it's a matter of like, hey, what's the pros and the cons of it? Because if you get addicted to it, because you can, and you get addicted to kind of that adrenaline and the high you get there, you can really hurt your body. And
Hmm.
so, like, I really want my knees when I'm old. Like, I know I keep saying it, but like, that is a big
Yeah.
deal to me. I think about it a lot. Like,
That's
even this
fair.
weekend, it came through my head. I'm like, okay, putting that much weight on my back, I'm not used to that. Like, the miles are not a big deal, but me putting that on my back, like, I said it in my pregame
Yeah.
interview, but literally it's going through my head, and I was like, I'm taking years off of these knees right now,
Yeah.
and I think about like tread on my tires. I think about my tread on my tires all the time,
Yeah.
like what the tread on my tires is looking like. I think that's like my knees, dude. It's like if I'm
It's important.
jumping and all that sort of thing. Yeah, dude. So
Yeah. That's I think where we disagree, and I know we're on a tangent at this point, but I'm the type of guy. I'm like, you'll see that old lady on the news who's like her 99th birthday, and they're like, why'd you live so long? What's the secret? She's like, a can of Dr. Pepper every day. I'm like, bro, whatever you do in life, it like doesn't matter. Like there are people that are so unhealthy that live way too old, and then there's people who are like perfectly physically fit and they'll like die at like 50, and you're like, what's going on there? So, I mean,
Yeah.
all that to say, we should live healthy lives. I'm trying to live healthier. I did 75 hard not that long ago, but also like I don't know. I'm gonna die one day, whether I live extremely healthy or not. It's just gonna happen. It is what it is.
To me, it really does come down to the length of time that it takes to push yourself. So, for example, I would much rather run a full marathon than do
Mhm.
75 hard, and it's not even close
That
because
makes sense.
I know I can just suffer for 6 hours
Hmm.
and it would be hell and I would hate my life. And then
Hmm.
maybe, well, 6 hours, that'd be really slow. Mercy. Let's just call it 5 hours.
Yeah,
Um, you know, and then I'd be hurting for like a few days. But I don't have to do all that, like the amount of time and energy when 75 hard.
yeah,
If you spent 3 or 4 hours a day, multiplied by 75, you had 250 to 300 hours that you spent on that suffering. So I
yeah,
would much rather do a marathon. Much rather.
yeah. But I wouldn't get the results in a marathon versus what I got with 75 hard. A marathon, I would just be dead for 3 days and
Yeah.
lost a
Yeah.
lot of water weight. Like
It comes
that's
up to the
it.
objective. I'm just saying about overall
Yeah, yeah,
pushing
yeah. No,
yourself.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I don't know. Interesting thought. So, yeah, maybe people that are listening, leave a comment. How do you want to push yourself? Or how would you like to see Mike push himself? There we go. And maybe we'll see if we can incorporate it into the content. Find ways to push Mike a little bit
Okay,
for the
so
content.
because you've been busy,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I I had to come in here and make sure I carry the episode for you.
Thank you.
So let me let
I got
me
my
share
summer
this.
project.
Let me share my screen.
All right.
Can you see this? Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen
Mm-hmm.
this, the fear and greed index?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So this is somewhat in relation to my non-financial advice last week.
Yep.
And if I actually am honest, okay, I can't show you this. This is my checklist for this week. I can't show you everything, sorry. But on there it says greed and fear index non-financial advice. Literally was fueling up at the gas station and made sure I wrote it down so I
Good.
didn't forget it.
Good, good,
Yeah,
good.
so this is a good this is what's called the fear and greed index.
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone's listening to the episode now that we are, 15 minutes and they deserve to be able to hear some actual content.
Yeah.
So this is what's called fear and greed. Have you seen it before, Lee?
Yeah, I have seen it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So it basically tracks several different factors, kind of from 0 to 100. 0 being extreme fear, 100 being extreme greed. There's a stock market, and it looks at several things. So momentum is one thing that it looks like. It's like where are we at according to 125-day moving average and the S&P 500. Obviously, when we're up here, you can kind of come to the conclusion that we are greedy. A lot of people are trying to buy stocks, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Down here you can see the relative strength index, which is basically what percentage of stocks are hitting their 52-week high. So we just are coming out of where there are actual companies having highs. Because if you go back into like 2022, a lot of companies, the majority of them are actually having lows. So
Mm-hmm.
then you have breadth. So having a more a wider stock market going up is obviously an important thing. Breadth instead of just super narrow, like just technology.
Mm-hmm.
Put and call options. So basically, people that are shorting the market, you could say, thinking it's going
Yep.
to go down, is low, very, very low right now as well. Market volatility extremely low in the VIX. And so the VIX is essentially just like tracking how volatile the market is. So that's also like at an all-time low since like a year and a half ago. So yeah, these are the type of things that I like to look at in terms of why I gave my financial advice last week, which was to potentially not sell out, but keep
Mm-hmm.
in check the fact that as we go into extreme greed, you're going to have all these cheap junk stocks and cryptos and all other garbage start to pop their head back up. And to feel the pain of 2022 is not a bad thing when it comes to this sort of market environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, yeah, I've heard that before and I've seen the fear and greed index, but I've never like actually looked at like a full length article like that. So, not financial advice, would you say sell, obviously, or now is the optimal time based on these metrics?
No, because you can stay in extreme green for a very long time. So indicator, I don't actually have an actual number to give you here, but I would imagine if this chart could go back, let me actually try to pull it up. Fear and greed index. Let's do 5 year. I don't know if they had it for 5 years, so let me just see if it is goes back that far in a different chart. But what I'm getting at, oh, is this it?
I was gonna say I can't see
Mm-mm-mm.
your screen.
I think I'm looking at the wrong thing. So just give me a
You're
second.
good.
Give me a second here. 2020, 2022. Where's blue? Okay, here. I'll show you what I'm looking at. Let me see. You don't think I'm crazy. Because
Well,
right now
I'm gonna
this is
pull
the
up my
S&P
portfolio.
500. Oh, really? Okay.
I'm not gonna show it,
Um,
but I'm just gonna pull it up.
what I want to see is 2020. But I would imagine basically what my point here is it can stay in extreme greed for a long time. You miss out on all the gains,
Hmm.
right? So it's extremely irrational in the stock market. We're at all time high of interest rates, and here the stock market is going crazy high. So
Hmm.
um, it can stay that way a lot longer than you are. What's the saying? It's a really good saying. Saying about being solvent longer. Here you go. Let's see here. Markets can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent. That is a quote from John Maynard Keynes, which is very, very interesting. And it comes down to
Hmm.
positive and negative. And in this case, when you have so much greed in the market, um, yes, it's like, oh, I should sell. Well, it can be irrational for a year or two, like we saw in 2020 and 2021,
Hmm.
or if you're like, oh no, it's crazy, COVID is nuts, like
Hmm.
money's being printed, we're gonna have inflation, and you pulled out, you just lost out on like literally the 24 months of the hottest stock market on record. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't say just sell, but I would definitely be saying like don't be looking at cheap, stupid stocks. Like
Right.
this is when everyone's being greedy is when you should be fearful, right? And so everyone says that very, very candidly, but this is what's cool, dude. This is what's cool. You want to know the bottom of the market?
Like the bottom, as in like
The
year to
past,
date, or
yeah, if you look at the past year, let's say the past year.
like when was it? Like timeline
Yeah, dude.
wise?
Yeah, this is nuts.
I don't know off the top of my
Let me
head.
let me make sure it's on all indexes before I speak out of turn. I'm pretty sure it's for the S&P 500, but let me just triple check. 1 year. Okay, let me make sure. Let me make sure. Okay, so the S&P was not. It was not true for. Okay, let me just say this for like the Nasdaq and more tech related
Hmm.
stocks. The low was January 4th.
That's all. I
That
just
was
pulled up a chart. Yeah.
Yeah, January 4th. That was the night of conference when I showed the chart where I said like I feel like the stock market's almost at the bottom, not at the bottom yet, but like I think it's almost at the bottom, and I think it'll come up, and then like real estate is like still towards the height and coming down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do have that screenshot somewhere because I found much joy in the fact that if you would have bought that night, you would have been buying the bottom of the market.
There you go. There's the year right there. Oh, I got my ring light, but there you
That's year
go.
to date. Yeah, it's year to date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I always love when
so
people that are sharing screenshots of their stock portfolio year to date, and it's like, yeah, let's show us 2022.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
2022 is wrecked. Like honestly, what's funny? If you would have sold, like 2022 was just trashier. If you would have just
Hmm.
stayed out of the stock market for all of 2022, you would have been a genius. Literally, January 1st, 2021, 20, January 1st, 2022. If you would have just sold everything and then bought everything a year
Hmm.
later, January 2023, you would have just crushed it, dude.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
literally, you look at the top and the bottom of my stock portfolio. This top is literally end of December 2021, and then like the very bottom was January 4th, 2022
Yeah,
or
dude. Let's
2023.
go. Well, we talked about Tesla too in one of our first episodes this year. We talked about it. We were like, dude, it's at a low. It's like hovering around 100. At one point during trading, I think
90.
it went yeah, it went below 100. I don't know. Did it ever finish at the end of a day below 100? Either way, we called
Oh
it. We were
yeah,
both like, dude, that's like all-time low. It's never going to go lower. And then you bought like a massive amount and then sold it later.
let's see here. Let's see here. Let's get the
I'm
exact
kick I'm
numbers
kicking
because.
myself. I didn't take my own not financial advice. I didn't buy any. I didn't buy any. I'm gonna be honest.
Uh, I
I'm a
think
diamond hands guy.
they're starting to get a little overbought. One
Yeah,
second. So I have been selling them off slowly over the past few weeks. But let me see here. When did I buy? I bought January 3rd. That was 106. 106. That's another. Okay, dude, you're right. I didn't get under 100. Sick.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say I don't know if it
106
ever
is what I got.
ended under 100. Yeah, but then it
Okay.
peaked right around 200, so it literally doubled in a matter of like a month or two. You could have doubled your worth in Tesla. It was nuts.
Yeah. I think it was intraday. Intraday, I think it went under 100. Let me just look here. It was back. No, 101. Oh, whatever. Okay. Well,
I never bought. That's on me,
yeah,
coach.
but now it's expensive, man. It's the same thing. I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
now you look at their market cap, and I'm a little bit. Here's the thing. Here's the thing about Tesla right now. One, the positive thing they have going for them right now is the fact that the government is subsidizing their cars like nobody's business
Mm-hmm.
with this new bill.
Yep.
And in places like California, you can get a Tesla now, Model 3, for under $26,000
Yep.
because of a $7,500 from the federal and $7,500 from the state tax credits. Going to be great for top line revenue, which is basically what Tesla is built on because they're a
Mm-hmm.
growth company, right?
Yep.
That being said, their margins are starting to be collapsed. Their profit margins, in part because they lowered price, but also
Mm-hmm.
because like you got Hyundai and all these other companies coming out with pretty good electric cars. That being said, did you see what happened with the Ford and the GM partnership with the plugs?
I
So
did not
basically,
know.
GM and Ford basically relinquished and handed over the reins to Tesla by saying they now have a partnership with Tesla where you can charge a GM or a Ford at Tesla's
Yeah.
in network charging stations. And dude, the app is all over this. The Tesla app, in order to go charge there, you have to have the Tesla app. And
Okay.
literally, you have to like scroll past, in order to do it, you have to scroll past like test drive a Tesla. Like, it's the
Oh,
best
nice.
marketing ever,
Yes,
dude.
dude. Yes.
So,
Oh,
like, it was so great. That was
yeah.
so fun. But the market, I think, is overreacting to that. I think, they're so good. It's just hard to the numbers aren't. It's tough to make sense of the numbers. Same thing with the
Yep.
Nvidia.
Yep.
Like I sold out of Nvidia last week because like it's a great company, but it ain't worth no $1 trillion. And
Mm-hmm.
that, at least right now, in my point, everything has to be perfect. They have to retain their monopoly. AI has to continue at the same rate of innovation.
Mm-hmm.
They have to be the only player, which they currently are in terms of GPU chips and stuff. Sorry, dude, we're getting off track.
No,
But
you're good. I love this. I love where it's
yeah.
going.
So, anyways,
No, no, no. I loved where it was going. I promise I was paying attention. I was pulling up a TikTok actually. That related. I forgot that I liked it. That related to what you were talking about. I was going to go on another tangent with you.
oh yeah,
Um,
let's do it.
it was about Ford. So the Ford CEO, he had, and I'm
Jim
blanking on his
Farley.
name. There you go. Yeah. So he was in an interview, and he basically, and this is something you've been talking about a lot with Augusta. Maybe I'll just stitch the TikTok in here, but if you want to listen to it, you can. But basically, he's saying that Ford's biggest struggle right now is what you're trying to prevent with Augusta, or which is what you're trying to control with Augusta, which is vertical integration. He said you have a company like Tesla that everything is in house, everything is vertically integrated. They control every single piece of the car, so they aren't held hostage to anyone making chips, making batteries, making getting the cobalt, getting all the materials, all those things. And he says for every F-150 that I make, he's like, I'm talking to a minimum of 160 other companies. And I'm like, excuse me? He's like, he basically says in this interview, it's very candid, and I respect his transparency, but he's basically saying like a Ford is almost not a Ford at this point. We are builders, and it's a bunch of other companies pieced together, and like we have a frame. That's it. And he said that's going to be their biggest struggle competing in the EV market is the lack of vertical integration, the lack of control that they have over design, building, parts, materials, etc.
Yep.
So yeah, it's nuts. But you're right about the margin squeeze on Tesla. Like they are bringing prices down so much. What do you think their next move is? Like, what's the 5-year move for Tesla because they're squeezing margins so aggressively?
5-year move is keep doing what they're doing because if they can squeeze the margins a little bit now, they'll push all their competition out. So they
Right.
already are having GM and Ford like basically handing them the keys,
Yeah.
right? So if you bring down the margin up to the point where no one like if you want to buy like right now, Ford and GM lose money on every single electric vehicle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you as Tesla can make 30% margin, yes, they can do that, but if we bring that down to 15, it's gonna in the short term hurt their stock price, and that's what's happened over the past 8 months. Is everyone's like, oh my word, this is bad. I thought that was a good thing because what they were
Hmm.
doing is while everyone else was weak, they had the margin to come down on
Hmm.
price and just wipe out the competition.
Yeah.
And so you look at all the other EV manufacturers over the past 16 months, whether it's Ford and GM, or you look at even the ones over in China that have built stuff like Neo, et cetera.
Hmm.
And I'm blanking on the other one for some weird
Rivian
reason.
is one.
Well, Rivian's over in the US, but yeah, same thing.
Well,
Like they
yeah, they're
lose
U.S.
tons of
based.
money
Yep.
on every
Yep.
single car, right? So eventually, what you do is at Tesla, like, okay, can we operate on way less margin for the time being? But in doing so, make it to where anyone buying an electric vehicle, it's like, do I want a Tesla or want something else? Oh, the Tesla's cheaper than this one, and it's way better.
Hmm.
So just have everyone buy Tesla and then drive down demand in
Hmm.
addition to the fact that they're losing money on every single per unit vehicle
Hmm.
on all the other manufacturers, and then you just win the game,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's why I bought in like a while back when everyone else was like, "This is a bad thing." I'm like, "This is perfect." They're lowering their
Hmm.
price. They're gonna like just handicap all, and that's what GM and Ford said. They're like, "We cannot afford to subsidize the electric network that is required to fuel our vehicles." And they were depending again on Electrify America, ChargePoint, all these other third party vendors to supply power, and therefore could not get their batteries charged fast enough. Whereas
Hmm.
Tesla, because they control the port, they control the charger, they control the station, they control
Oh
the
yeah.
battery, they can ramp up speed of charging to the point that these other guys can't compete. And
Hmm.
so it's why like people get mad all the time at Augusta, like with us going relatively low on price, especially when we're starting out a location,
Hmm.
and then we bring the prices up, is because right now we raise prices in order to increase margin. There'll come a time when we have the operational efficiency, and I hope that it's during a very bad economic time that we're
Hmm.
able to still sustain some margin. Will hurt, but we'll sustain the margin because of AI and because of the technology
Hmm.
and because we can potentially start leaning more robotics. Again, this is like 15 years, but
Yeah.
like
Totally.
that's the
Totally.
goal. And then at that time is when you take market share, right? Like
Right.
I don't plan on taking market share by getting more franchisees. That's not going to happen. It's going to happen when we have 1,000 locations, and then when everything it really gets hurt and crushed, and the labor market is even worse. At the same time that the demand is going down, at the same exact time, we can say, okay, great. Because we have everything so operationally efficient and we can do everything so much cheaper and still answer the phone and have everything automated and we have the power to use robotics now, we can bring prices down to a point that you cannot compete with us.
Hmm.
And so that's typically how um, fragmented markets do have a market leader, right? So
Hmm.
you got something like Amazon, you control 50 plus percent of e-commerce. Well, that was unheard of 20, 30 years ago. It's very, very, very fragmented, but they did it by losing money for a very long
Hmm.
time and just plowing money into their distribution centers and technology and robotics, right? And so
Hmm.
now it's almost impossible. Like no one's going to topple Amazon unless they do a massive misstep.
Hmm.
And that's simply because they just built this massive moat, poured so much money into it, and then the point
Hmm.
where you can't compete with their infrastructure.
Right. Do you think that Tesla is like this, not perfect as a stretch, but a perfect like test case of a modern market disruptor story arc to market dominator? Like they came in as a disruptor, but because they were going by the kind of the beat of their own drum, now they dominate the market. Like no one can keep up with them. Do you think that that's like an interesting test case?
What they've done well, in my opinion, is they have harnessed what Apple had when Steve Jobs was around,
Hmm.
um, and kept it. And most it's because they still have Elon. Like I think
Hmm.
if Steve Jobs was still around, the atmosphere around Apple would still remain that of an underdog. Like they're
Hmm.
trying to get somewhere, and they're trying to like it's them versus the competition, it's them versus the industry, it's them versus the world.
Hmm.
And Elon's maintained that
Yep.
sort of thought process and culture at Tesla, despite becoming the market leader by leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
The Model Y is the number one sold vehicle now in the U.S. And so, and he plays into it so well. From like, for example, not getting invited to the White House when they're celebrating EVs, and like that's a slap in the face.
Yeah, yeah.
That is exactly what you want when you're a company that's growing very large.
Hmm.
You need to be looked at as the underdog still. And
Right.
so the same thing that like this is the marketing campaign that Apple did when it's like Apple versus PC is
Hmm.
they showed themselves as the underdog against the like big bad Windows, right?
Hmm.
And IBM and all the rest of it. And
Yep.
so now it's switched though. Back to what we talked about last week when Apple was like very polished, everything is perfect. What is going to disrupt them is going to be someone that is like breaks the rules, gets in there, starts being the disruptor, and then they are unable to kick it back into gear into innovation. And
Hmm.
so because they've become buttoned down and because they've become the incumbent. And so I don't know where we're going with that, but oh yeah, Tesla. They've kind of made sure they didn't do that because they've gone to $1 trillion market cap and somehow still retain this mentality like you got to be hungry, you work hard, you show up to
Hmm.
work and you just crush it. And they haven't got wrapped up in as much in terms of the politics that typically come with a company that's grown that size,
Yep.
and where it starts to take away from the mission of what's trying to get done.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That's my take to go on another tangent on why I'm a big fan of space. Virgin Galactic. I think they're the
Dude,
disruptor in the new
you
space race.
bought this stock like way back when it was at 25.
Yeah,
Are you
I'm
still
down a
holding
lot.
on?
I'm holding, bro. I am holding. Time in
Dude,
hand. All
every
right.
time I feel bad about my stock portfolio, I just
All
look at
right.
Virgin
That's
Galactic.
extremely, that is so rude. My stock portfolio is like 80 to 90% like extremely
Oh
conservative.
yeah,
It's
definitely
like
right.
extremely
Only
conservative.
because only because it used to be 50% Virgin Galactic, it sunk
No,
so
dude.
much in value
No.
that now it's only worth a small portion.
Look, that's my not financial advice. Virgin Galactic is the move. It's a long-term play. All right, Richard Branson is doing his own thing when it comes to
You think
the
Virgin
commercial
Galactic has
space
any
race.
shot in
Yeah.
the world against SpaceX?
Well, they're playing a completely different game, right? They're doing it.
Okay,
They're dude. Virgin
dude.
Galactic is yeah,
The only thing that looks like a spaceship is their
yeah.
stock performance
Hey,
over the
first
past
off,
5 years.
also after that second peak is where or that first peak, excuse me, is when I started buying. All right, so I didn't buy at those big peaks. I just want to
That
make that
means
I want to make
that
that
means
very
that
clear.
at
I'll make that
some
very clear.
point the stock was at 16, and also at some point the stock was 55.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No,
And now it's all the way up to a whopping four dollars
four.
and
Yeah,
forty two
dude.
cents,
Look,
and
man.
yet the market is on a tear this year. It's still down
Look,
45%.
we had some setbacks as a
Oh,
shareholder.
we
We had
have
some
some
setbacks.
setbacks.
All right, we're
Oh,
working on it. I'm a
dude,
big
that's
Virgin
so
Galactic guy. I
funny.
believe in Richard Branson. Screw it, let's do
Okay,
it. Great
okay,
book.
all right. Hey, hold on. You give me the bull case for Virgin Galactic.
Like like the bowl case.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
like, why do you think it's so good?
Space exploration, direct to consumer. There you go. That's the elevator pitch. That's all I needed.
Okay, so the
Direct to
breakdown of the
consumer,
cost.
baby.
So is their goal basically to like just basically shuttle people to space as like tourism kind of thing?
So that's honestly like the thing is that is what everyone sees publicly facing, but they also have are in tandem with Virgin Orbit, which is a different process of launching space satellites and a different process of using rockets. So the big thing that Virgin Galactic has been doing, so Virgin Galactic is space, SPCE as their ticker symbol, but it also contains Virgin Orbit. What Virgin Orbit is a scientific program that uses a 747 and they launch their rockets from a 747. So it's not as flashy or as cool as SpaceX, right? They're more
Because they cheat.
practical. They're more
Yeah,
practical,
cheat.
right?
Get it off the ground. So they have to
So
literally take it on a 747.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I get you. I get you.
And then they launch from a 747. So that's the whole scientific advantage of Virgin Galactic. And then what everyone sees, or excuse me, that's Virgin Orbit. And then Virgin Galactic is more the direct to consumer space exploration. I like it. Look, man,
Oh,
I like it. I like
dude.
where they're headed. All right.
Okay, like they're going after tourism, bro.
Yeah. Flash. That's what
Okay.
sells. That's literally Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs wanted to go to direct to consumer. He didn't care about having these super cool high-end commercial computing devices. He
Dude,
wanted to have
Steve
flashy,
Jobs
cool
had billions
projects.
of dollars worth of
Yes,
revenue. This
and he
company hasn't made a single
yeah,
dollar. They just
he
burn money.
Steve Jobs wanted to put flashy, cool products in people's hands. That's what made him a market disruptor. Richard Branson wants to get cool
No,
people
no,
on his
no. A
spaceships.
market disruptor, just because he says something stupid, that is not what a market disruptor
Look,
is.
this is what I'm
A
holding.
market
This is what I'm
disruptor
holding.
is actually someone who disrupts the market, not who
Yeah,
says stupid things that would, if they would come true, would disrupt the market. That's different.
saying.
This is what happens to people that compete with Elon Musk. Nikola
Oh,
Motors. Look at that
that was
guy.
dumb. That was dumb.
Oh, the same thing's going to happen to Virgin Galactic. I bet. All right, we're going to do a bet. Let's see
Let's do
here.
it.
So their current market cap is a whopping $1.26 billion. They have a negative price to earnings ratio. That sounds great in a high interest rate market rate environment.
Yeah, it is 100%.
It's okay. It's okay. They're burning off a bunch of shares of Lee Park's money in the
Yeah,
form of owners, employee stock
look,
compensation. Okay, so
we've
I'm
had
going to make a
we've
bet.
had good volume recently. All right.
Well, good volume.
Yeah,
Oh,
dude.
brother. Okay, so my prediction. So I believe that this stock will go up in 2023.
Yeah,
Okay. My
totally.
prediction, we need to clip this. You gotta like somehow
Yeah,
save
yeah,
this,
yeah.
okay?
Yep,
My
yep.
prediction is going to be that it is going to reach $9, $10 per share by the end of this year.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I agree with you. So I don't like. Why
I
would I bet
also
against
believe,
that?
hey, Mr. I'm gonna be very conservative with my stock portfolio. Just hold your horses.
Hey,
Okay.
gotta have fun.
I also believe that within 5 years, this will be a penny stock or will not be listed
No,
on the stock exchange. Yes,
I I
100%.
would I would go not listed versus penny stock. Like I think they would just. I don't know. I don't know.
So you're betting that in 5 years this company might not exist,
No,
and
I
yet
think
you're calling it a market disruptor?
I think I am going to get a inaugural shareholders ride to space, and I won't use it to advertise Augusta. I will not wear an Augusta hoodie to space. I would have, but now I won't. Now I won't. Uh,
Oh man,
what
that's
uh,
hilarious.
what do you think my total gain is? Percentage. We don't have to talk numbers. What do you think my
From
total gain
Virgin
is? No, my total gain as a percent. So it's obviously negative.
in Virgin Galactic?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So well,
We're
this
going
is pretty
percentage.
easy.
We're not going
Okay.
price. I'm not going to
Dollars
talk
now.
my personal
Yeah.
financials here.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go out on a limb. If you said you bought it after the first dip, okay, let me just pull it up real quick. Um, so everyone's very clear in terms of Virgin. Dude, you're gonna get so much flack from this on coaching calls.
Dude, oh, I could care
Galactic.
less, bro. Like, hey, I am doing this for the people. All right, I'm showing
Yeah,
people
yeah,
what
you
I.
are losing money $1 at a time
Yeah,
for the
100%.
people. Okay, all right.
I also
So
made some great plays during COVID that I'm not out here touting and saying how much money I made. My individual
okay, so I'm gonna
brokerage
guess.
account is way up.
Hey! You asked a question. I'm about to give you the answer. Okay, you said that. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to be clear that Richard Branson owns less than 12% of this company. Just want to throw that
Yeah,
out
I'm
there.
aware. I'm aware of that. I knew it was a
Okay, yeah,
minority.
okay.
I'm not worried
It's
about
called
that.
shareholder dilution. Shareholder dilution, and they walk away with the investors' money. That's how this works.
I'm good.
So, anyways,
I'm fine.
I'm going to guess that you bought this at approximately $23 to $24. Your market, no, let's go a little lower because you would have bought this dip.
Yeah.
So
I was an early adopter.
you got it at the top of the slide.
Yeah.
um, okay, so I'm gonna say you bought in an average of $22 a share. It's currently at $4. So you're gonna be down about 70%, but you would have bought one like down here. You would have been a believer. So this would have brought your share price down. So your average is gonna be about 17. You're at a 4. You're down about 68%.
Yeah, you were closer on that first one. I'm down about 76%.
Let's go.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. Now, not financial advice. I'm at a point that I listened to some actual financial advice, and I did some of my own
Yeah.
research. They said if
Yes.
you're down, if the stock that you're extremely down in your portfolio is under a certain percentage, it doesn't make statistical sense to sell it. Just ride it out.
Mm.
So I'm at that point where I'm riding it out. If it goes to zero, it goes to zero. Like it's under a certain percent of my whole portfolio that statistically speaking, I should just ride it out. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just
Okay.
riding it out.
So because you had you were so honest with us and you showed
Yeah.
so much courage in showing your lowest stock performance of a
Oh,
company that
that's
doesn't
probably
make
not
any
my
revenue.
lowest.
Because you
I'm
did that, you have ones that are worse.
oh well, okay, here's the thing. Look,
Virgin Galactic is 20% now. The other 60%.
I want to make this very clear. I'm not going to show my screen, but I'm looking at my individual brokerage account. My total gain way up. My
Dude, I'm
days
just giving you.
gained
I'm just
also.
giving you a
I
hard
know,
time. I'm just giving you a hard time. I
but
was
you're not
about
giving.
to say what I was about. I was trying to get somewhere with this, bro. I'm gonna show you my worst performing stock.
Good.
Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, dude. It ain't pretty. It's not as bad as Virgin Galactic. And at least there was some sort of thought that went into buying this. Besides, it's bright and shiny. It goes up in the air really fast. But
Disagree.
besides that,
Direct to consumer
besides
space
that,
exploration.
this, yeah, you're funding it. That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
That.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, not cool. And what's really humiliating is the fact that there was a short squeeze on this. Where there's a bunch of people on all the meme stock stuff. They bought
Hmm.
into it and it bounced up to 40. Literally, last is during Equip Expo. Oh man, let me get the candles. Here, let me show that. Let me show you this. This is embarrassing. So if you look right there, there's one little line right there. In
Yeah.
one day, it went up like 40%.
Yeah.
And I sold like 10 or 15%. I'm like, oh, it'll keep going up. Like, this is always what I was hoping for, kind of thing. And then literally since then, it just slid. So I am down. I'll actually show you because, yeah, that's just life. Right there. There you can see it. Market value down
Yeah.
43.71%.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
was that's my worst perform. I think that's one. And then here's my second worst one. Salesforce. It's not so
Mm.
bad. It's down 10%. Down 10% since I bought it. But
That got some people though.
yeah. Yeah, but see I bought it. I bought it right here
Okay.
and all the way down here. And
Yeah.
that was not good. But it has come back up. But
Yeah.
I just, they're a fast growing company and in this environment that's not going to be rewarded because they're not super profitable. But we live and learn. We live and
Yeah.
learn. And so if we're gonna talk about the wins like Tesla, we gotta talk about the losses like Virgin Galactic
Exactly.
and,
Yeah.
and Pinterest.
I got some great wins in my portfolio that I'm never going to disclose.
Oh, okay.
I'm just being
My
honest.
personal best is still Meta. It's still
Yeah,
Facebook.
that's good. Here's mine. COVID. Since we are now, I got to redeem myself because everyone's like, Lee's dumb. I'm never listening to his non-financial advice again. Buy Virgin Space. All right.
Here we are spending half an episode and just talking about verifying our previous non-financial advice,
No,
whether or not it was valid.
my best play made great returns was Express Spa. I don't know if you heard about them. Did you ever do this one? This is a great COVID
No,
play.
dude.
This is a great COVID play. They are, yeah, no, it's like I'm giddy about it.
Oh
About the
man.
win. But they were a spa chain inside of airports. And what they converted to
Oh,
was an express COVID testing site in airports. They converted the spa over.
oui,
I made a
oui.
great COVID play, made a lot of money, bought out.
You just buy into the story of stocks. Like what was their price to earnings ratio?
Dude, no idea.
What was their market cap?
No idea. Just being honest.
That's so funny, dude.
At the time,
That's so funny.
hold on. At the time, I could have told you. I could have. I'm not that dumb. At the time, I could have told you. But it wasn't a meme stock, but it was a COVID stock. And I went for it. And it paid out really well. because of COVID.
Let's
Everyone
go.
was freaking out, and they were like, "Well, we're still got to travel," but airlines are requiring COVID tests. Made sense. Good thought.
Oh man,
I'm
let's
a story
go.
guy. Do we have any
Oh.
non-financial advice? We can wrap it up here. Let you get on with your
My
night.
my non-financial advice was to look at the fear and greed index, and what I was going to do before we got massively sidetracked was look at when it's been historically high, and when basically if you would just be able to sell when everyone was greedy and buy when everything was
Mhm.
fearful, you'd usually do pretty well. But what you got to be careful of is there can be troughs where fear is very low and everyone is greedy, but if it goes for a long period of time, you lose out on all the gains. So it's not to say that you should sell during that time, but what, in my opinion, is you should probably, if you're going to sell off the things that are high risk, low profitability, Virgin Galactic type stocks that in the short term are spiking during high risk environment, and just purge the old stock portfolio.
Yeah, dude, that's great. Great non-financial advice. I'm holding at this point. Honestly, I feel like I have no leg to stand on for non-financial advice, and I also didn't prepare anything. I can't think of anything
Okay,
off the top of my head.
since this
So,
entire since this entire thing was about stocks, okay, and I'm
yeah.
not thinking of one right now. So because we basically spent the entire show just rambling about stock market, you got to list a stock that you would recommend buying
Okay. Okay.
that you do. Wait, no, that you do not currently have in your portfolio.
Ooh. Okay. Well, that might take me a second. I gotta pull up my watch list.
That's awesome, dude.
What? You don't have a watch
Let's
list?
go. That's
You don't
so
have a watch?
funny. Let me
It's
see.
like
Let me see if I
standard
do.
in all portfolios.
In all portfolios.
Guy doesn't have
I
a
only
watch
have
list. You want us to take non-financial
the.
advice from you, and you don't even have a watch list, bro?
Oh man. So okay, just again, there are parameters. You have not bought this stock. It's not in your portfolio,
Hmm.
and yet you would say that you would buy this, like with hypothetical money.
I mean, my like to be 100% honest, like I feel like these aren't going to be anything crazy. Like I don't have like. Are you going to go like edges? Like, are you going out to like the edges of the stock market with like wild
Oh, I
picks?
don't even have one in my head. I don't even have one in my head. I'm just
Okay,
saying. Okay, let's do it the other way around. Let's do it the other way around. This is easier. Here's a better one.
but I got one.
Any stock.
Personally, I got
What?
one. I'm just saying.
Okay, but we're gonna switch it up because you took too long. So
Okay,
you can give us that one, but then we're gonna move on. So tell us that one. Go ahead.
right now, very low in terms of where it could be
So
at. Being honest.
because it's low, it can only go
Yeah, it's a
back
buy.
up.
That's it. That's all it is.
Okay. So now we move past that one because you took too long. Um, if you had to short any stock, what stock would it be?
They're down right now. I don't know. I was kind of thinking Disney, honestly, but they're
Really?
trending down right now.
They're yeah, but past stock performance has no indication of future performance.
Yeah, I'm aware of that, but I'm also
Just because
like
something's
not the
down
expert
doesn't mean it's
stock
gonna go
trader.
back up.
Yeah, that's
It's
fair. I'm
if
just
there's
saying.
if there's certain things against the stock, like it can't. It's not like it's gonna like, oh, it's down 90%. It's
Yeah,
gonna come back up. It's only got one
Disney.
way to
That's my
go.
pick. Yeah, that's how it
Yeah,
works. That's how it
you
works.
would short Disney. You would short
Yes,
Disney.
correct.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your why? Why? Give me why.
Stories. I'm just gonna give you stories,
Are you
dude.
talking about like a Florida thing?
Like
You've been
I don't
watching
think.
Fox News too long, bro.
Oh, definitely not watching Fox News. I'm a Tucker on Twitter guy. All right, Tucker on Twitter. Um, I'm going
Oh man.
Disney because of lots of backlash based on price raises post COVID. Attendance is down statistically. So, actually looking at statistics, not just stories, attendance is way down at Disney World from where it should be. They're having massive sales for Disney World admission as well coming up this summer. Very low packages and tickets that people are seeing all across different spectrums. So I think just they're having a down year post COVID. They raise prices too aggressively. I think a lot of people don't like where they're going politically with Disney Plus and a lot of their media outlet. So I'm just saying, I'm
Bob
shorting.
Iger comes back in, bro. The guy's
Uh,
a genius.
Yeah, oh,
Bob
I love
Iger
Bob
came
Iger.
back
Ride
in.
of a Lifetime, great book. Never read it, but my wife bought it for me. Love Bob Iger.
Oh man. So you think Disney, you'd short this?
Yeah, that I told you they're trending down, and you said, "Well, it doesn't mean they're going to come back up."
Okay, no, hey, no,
Backing me into a
I'm not,
corner. What do
I'm
you want
not
me to
judging.
say?
I'm not judging, bro. You can say whatever you want. That's great. Okay,
I think
fantastic.
it'll. I think it'll
Um,
rally. I think people will think it's a value pick right now, and I think it'll rally. But then summer, their ticket sales are gonna drop. Typically, that's when they drop already in Florida. It's the hottest months out of the year, and I know it's the whole conglomerate. But I think the parks actually do show certain trends with the stock if you look at it historically. Park attendance, prices at parks also kind of trend a little bit with the actual stock over time. Not financial advice. That's just like a couple articles I've read. So I could be completely wrong. Just
that's
want to be
great,
very
dude. I
clear.
love it. So I'm just gonna oppose that, right? So I think the opposite. I think Disney is very low, in part due to the fact that their Disney Plus subscription, that's what the whole stock is
Yeah.
riding on.
Oh
That's
yeah.
why it went up. Is because of Disney, but it's unprofitable. They're not making any money. They're
Right.
losing gobs of money, and like Netflix had to go through a reset. They are getting a reset of like how big their TAM is, their total addressable market, right? Like, you can only sell so many Disney Plus memberships, and they've come to grips with that. But I agree with all the points you have made. However, because everyone's bought into that narrative, that is the time to buy.
Oh,
Because
see.
yes, dude, 100%. Okay, so here's another prediction. Okay, what was my first one? It was about Virgin Galactic, right?
Yeah, you said it'll
Yeah.
be at 10 by the end of the year.
Okay, so
I
I
buy wide.
believe
I'm gonna buy more.
Disney,
If I buy more at 4,
Disney,
I'll make up some losses.
I believe Disney is going to be at 120 by conference.
So October, mid-October.
Yeah, it's going to go up 25%.
Okay. I mean, that's the
All
thing.
this bad news is gonna go bye bye. Okay, so anyways, short stock. I would short Nvidia. It's just crazy. It's gone up so much.
Yeah.
It's a great stock, and I think in the long run it will do well. But like the amount of people just buying this because like, oh, it's the future, bro, and like AI, bro. It's like,
Yeah.
you know. So I don't know. It's a great company that the CEO is a solid dude, but I think there's a lot of hype right now.
Yeah. Well, I like you said last week, all tech is a little overvalued at this point. Maybe.
Yeah,
So, all right.
it's the future,
Cool. That's
bro.
all I got, man.
Dude, I feel bad. I almost feel bad. I kind of like ratted on you a bunch on
Dude, you
this.
put me on the spot. You're just making me feel bad. It's like I never said I'm a stock market expert. Like,
Hey, you said you didn't have anything for the show. I was like, let's get on, bro.
yeah, that's perfect. I love it. I did have an article for the show actually, but we can get into it next week. It's about remote work, and we're actually starting to see some
Dude, that sounds
impacts now.
so boring
It is
compared
boring,
to Virgin Galactic and our debate on Disney.
dude.
But what's the whole premise? The fact that
Well,
it's
I
bad
mean,
for people's mental health?
well, we're starting to see like legitimate outcomes post COVID in terms of having good sets of data to analyze from people working at home, remote working, remote training, and remote like accountability. So it's basically various surveys across lots of different industries. But essentially, I mean, I didn't write any of the main figures down, but the biggest thing is actually onboarding and like initial retention. It's like 80% of new hires attribute to leaving a job early on in their tenure due to the onboarding process. And the onboarding process has been essentially like horrible in the new digital remote work from home kind of age. So I think the onboarding process, there's a lot of value that companies haven't thought of in-person training, that actual camaraderie or bonding in person with the team, and that's caused people to move jobs a lot quicker if they haven't enjoyed the onboarding process from a remote perspective.
You want to hear the most politically correct version of this argument? Listen to Mark Zuckerberg talk to Lex Friedman on his podcast about
Yeah.
why he had to lay off 20,000 people at Facebook. It was the most politically correct way of saying, like, yeah, we just weren't doing good with money and financially. We just had to cut people. That's what he was saying in the most politically correct way. Oh man, it was great. And basically, it was really good. Actually, it was actually very refreshing to hear him say some stuff, like talking about like how they had too many. They had only had about 3 to 4 people to every manager, and then they like, this is stupid. We are wasting money. Of course, that only happens when like the economy like flushes that all out, right? And
Hmm.
it's like, oh, we don't need one manager for every 3 or 4 employees. It should be 7 or 8, like
Hmm.
most people operate in most organizations. And so yeah, that was very refreshing to hear him. And then he actually stated about Elon doing it at Twitter, gave permission to like the entire industry to basically do the same thing at a
Hmm.
time when like they all had to financially because like everything getting kind of reset in 2022. That was very refreshing for him to hear because he's the most like typically always like we hire all the time. They're like they just hired whatever. And It was refreshing to like, oh, like the basics and like the fundamentals, and, like our price to earnings ratio and our stock price and our shareholders actually matter. And like we have to adapt to market conditions. So that was refreshing to hear because every other small business owner, that's exactly what we have to do. It's like, oh,
Right.
the labor market's hard. We have to raise prices. We have to like cut back on certain things. And like then you see these massive companies like hiring every single person on their sun. It's like that's not fair. So finally, it catching up with them is rather refreshing.
Hmm. Yeah. No, that makes sense. I'm interested to listen to that podcast now.
Apple just came back and said if they didn't get back in the office, they were getting fired.
Nice.
Yeah,
Personally, I kind
everyone's
of
all
like
hunky
that.
dory, sing kumbaya until they are losing money.
Right. Yeah. Totally. The beanbag
Or like,
chairs
let's
have
be
to go.
inclusive and hire a certain amount of people, blah blah. And then all of a sudden, like the economy shifts and like, oh yeah, no, no, it's all about performance, baby. So it's just a little bit annoying because like they can get through the times when their stock price is really high and they can just sell stock back to the market, make raise a bunch of cash and hire a bunch of people that we need in small businesses. So I enjoy seeing them suffer a little bit,
Yeah.
just a little
I
bit.
I remember when I walked in the command center after you had bought those super cool yellow beanbag chairs, and my initial reaction was, "Really?" I was like, "Really? We're doing this? When are we gonna install the
Dude,
slide?" Like,
dude, that is good. See, that is well spent money.
yeah.
Those
Okay.
those
Yeah.
beanbags are used every single day, and people enjoy them. And people when they come in for the interviews, they notice the yellow
Yeah.
beanbag.
Exactly. It's
Trust
for
me, I'm not a
optics.
beanbag guy. I have never sat in those during work days ever, but
Yeah.
the team likes it.
Yeah. I think there you go. We'll put a bow on it there since I didn't have not financial advice because you just berated me for basically 40 minutes. Is just don't use a public beanbag chair. It just got to be so many germs on that thing. Like you sit on it and just poof, you germs everywhere. Just done. Nope, none of
I
that.
have thought about this, but we do. You can unzip it and then you can wash it. You can throw it. We do that
Oh,
every once in a
well,
while.
there you go. Good.
Not often
We're
enough,
we're
probably, but
health conscious at Augusta.
oh yeah, dude. All
All
right, bro.
right.
I apologize for the public berating.
You're good. I
You did a
loved it.
great
It
job.
keeps me honest. Right on.
You'll have to cook up something for next time for me.
Oh yeah,
Ask
I'll
me
do
a
it.
bit.